One of the things I like best about my career is that I get to do something different every day, but all the things that I do have a central purpose of supporting science and supporting the trainees at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So the overall mission of our office is to help train well-rounded scientists who excel in the career of their choice. I plan a lot of events and workshops throughout the year. These might be professional development workshops, for example, on the topic of individual development plans or how to think strategically about your next step in your training. I also run a couple of different training programs for graduate students. One of those is a translational medicine training program. It's a certificate program for students who are interested or who are engaged in clinically relevant research. A main priority of our office is to increase the number of underrepresented students at the university, and so we do a fair amount of recruiting, especially in the fall. I really enjoy meeting one-on-one with students and postdocs who are on the job market or who are looking for postdocs, and I will help them with their CV or their resume. I also, in this position, get to think about what are the challenges to graduate education and what are the ways that graduate education needs to change in order to better prepare our trainees for the job market. And that inevitably means that we are thinking about new programs and starting new programs, many of which have to be grant funded. So I actually do a lot of grant writing in this position, more than I thought I would. How did I get to this point in my career? Well, like most undergraduate students who enjoyed science, I had a decision to make whether I was going to proceed on a path that would take me to graduate school or to medical school. And it was fairly clear to me that what I wanted to do was research. And so I entered grad school, and I knew that I loved research, but didn't really have a very good idea of what careers would be available to me when I finished the PhD. And I ended up finishing my PhD and with the understanding that I was heading for a career as a scientist in industry. And so I got a postdoc at the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. And it was there in my postdoc that I realized that my strengths were maybe not the best suited to a position in industry. My strengths were much more in the area of mentoring, program planning, science advocacy, science outreach, science education. And so I had kind of a scary decision to make, that decision being, would I stay on a path that was fairly well defined and where I knew would more or less take me in the future, or would I look for a position that was more suited to my strengths? And fortunately for me, about that time, there was a position that opened up at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And that position that I took at UNC-Chapel Hill became the stepping stone for the position I'm in now. I think that one of the main things that helped to prepare me for this position was the mentoring experiences that I had as a graduate student and as a postdoc. So I always enjoyed mentoring, and whether that was a new rotation student in the lab or working with a summer student. I think I've always had an empathy too for the difficulties that are faced by students, probably partly because I was one of those students who didn't know exactly what I wanted to do and went through the process of searching just about every career out there and trying to decide if it would be a good fit for me. I think another thing that's important that prepared me for this position was a willingness to support science but not be on the front lines of science. And for me, that just comes naturally. It's not important for me to be at the front lines of discovery, but I enjoy being on the behind the scenes, helping students and supporting faculty and helping trainees to be the next generation of amazing scientists. Another thing that I know helped me to get this position was the volunteer experiences that I had in service of my program and my department. Certainly gave me experience and things on my CV that helped me to be competitive for this position. So, what kind of things motivate me to come into work every day? Well, as I mentioned before, I really like the variety in the things that I do every day. And I really like helping students. I really like feeling the satisfaction. I get a lot of satisfaction from helping students and hearing when they get a job and hearing that a CV that I helped them to tweak a little bit was successful in getting them the position of their choice. I like also seeing a need as far as like something that needs to be done to improve graduate education, and then figuring out a way to do that. And lastly, I work in a great office with great people, and that really helps me to want to come into work every day. If I could give any advice to a student who wanted to follow in this same type of a career path, it would be to take the opportunities that come to be of service to your department and to your program. That's essentially what this position is. It's a support position, it's a service position. Also mentor students whenever you can. Take advantage if you know that there's an opportunity to have a summer student in your lab, or when there's a rotation student coming into the lab, volunteer to help them get their feet wet in the lab. The other thing I would say is to read about current trends in higher education, and especially in biomedical education. Find those articles in Science Careers or in Nature or in the Journal of Higher Education. Read about them and start to develop your own opinions on them, so that when you go to an interview for positions like this, you'll be able to know the lingo and know the current struggles and have your own ideas of what needs to be done. And good luck.